we have Daniel Thomas here that's going to walk you through building an NFT marketplace. Daniel Thomas works at Uniques Network, and we also have the CTO of Uniques Network who will be answering questions at the end of the workshop. So I suggest that you buckle in and you get ready for a really exciting workshop here and follow along, right? All these resources are available, and you will be able to follow along this workshop and build your own NFT marketplace. So with that being said, I have the honor to introduce to you Daniel Thomas from Uniques Network. Take it away, Daniel.
Great, thanks very much, Sasha. It's great to be here. Awesome conference so far, had an awesome time. It's been really excellent, such great presentations and workshops so far. So this is the beginner stage, and what we have for you today is a NFT workshop aimed at beginners, and it doesn't matter if you've got squarely come in at the first contact with Substrate or blockchain or even web development. This is something that you can build at home right now. You can follow along. It's built with the open source tools built by the Unique team. I've got Greg with me today, who's our CTO, and he's going to take us through the workshop, take us through the steps, and show us how to build an NFT marketplace locally on your own machine at home. Now, this NFT marketplace is a clone of the Unique NFT.io marketplace, and it's built with, like I said, with the open source tools that are freely available on our GitHub repository, and it's a demonstration of what's possible. Right, you have your NFT marketplace. That our marketplace holds our Substrate and our Cello bricks. Now, Substrate were conceived from Hack Kusama last year, and now have a huge community online, a great following, and some of those, I hope some of those community members are here today, because we've been chatting today about all the amazing spin-off projects that have come out of Substrate. Now we're going to be using these open source tools as a demonstration of what you can do, and a proof of concept for many more potential applications and niches. In this presentation, in this workshop, we've got quite a while. Okay, so we're going to take it step by step. If you've got any questions, throw them into the chat. I'll be in the Discord channel at the end. We've got some big list of resources and lots of things to draw from that you can go away, take away with you. And obviously this video will be available online at Sub0 online through the YouTube channel for future reference. Okay, so to start, we're going to touch on crypto economic systems. We're going to touch on incentive design, how with the features of Unique Network have made these incentives adaptable, pliable, and malleable by building with Substrate, abstracting away much of the complexity of other networks, making it more accessible to build Web3 NFT applications. We'll be looking at the basic interactions of a marketplace and trust minimized escrow with unique gradients of permission that will allow you to build new economic models, bring new ideas and new businesses through the use of NFTs. We'll be showing you how to assign administrators that steward the escrow process, and I'll share some resources at the end. Who's this workshop for? I've touched on it at the beginning, but this is for beginners, new to Substrate and Web3 applications, or even if this is your first contact. I hope you take something away from this, build something cool, and hopefully inspire you to get into the Substrate and NFT space. This is a full stack workshop that examines the incentives of the digital asset economy in the frame of an NFT marketplace. This diagram illustrates the zone of proximal development, and this is the beginner stage. I've built this with the beginner in mind. Okay, so what are we going to be doing? We're going to be using the familiar, some very easily accessible tools, Ubuntu, OS, Docker, Git. So if you've got some familiarity with these tools and these operating systems, and you've got some idea about some NFTs, maybe you've become a collector, maybe you've had a go at minting somewhere on one of the other platforms, and maybe you've had a go at building boilerplate JS applications for yourself. Now, this is the kind of level that, an introductory level. What we're not going to be doing here today is we're not going to be building smart contracts. You know, Sean went through XCM messaging today, and that's a more advanced feature, but we're not there yet. But this is a first step into getting you into Substrate. Okay, so we've got 6 phases really. The first phase is going to take a little while because we're going to go through NFTs, marketplaces, and the incentives around token design and crypto economic systems. Now, we're going to relate that to the context of an NFT marketplace that Greg's going to take us through later on. I'm going to show you the white label suite of tools, the newly released SDK for those of you who are a little bit more advanced in your development and want to build a bespoke marketplace, or bring something else to the party. We're going to talk about accounts. Greg's going to take you through opening accounts with a Polkadot.js extension. We're going to draw some tokens from a faucet bot. We're going to talk about escrow, show you how that works with our matcher contract and how to register that with Polkadot Apps UI. We're going to talk about endowment and what that means for blockchains and crypto networks. As I previously mentioned, Unique Network has a gradation of permissions that allow you to change the incentives and permissions in your marketplace so that you can allow certain visitors or certain users certain activities based on lists that you can place them on. So if you're thinking of a game design or you're thinking of a collectibles, potentially you could have a reward mechanism that allows early adopters further rights and further access. So we're going to examine those, and then Greg's going to take us through the fundamentals. How do we get the front end to talk to the blockchain? Now, this is what Unique does so well. Abstracts away a lot of the complexity of building with blockchains and allows you to take NFTs to the next level. But first, we're going to examine the incentives. We're going to look at the creator economy and the ownership economy, both of which have seen huge leaps and bounds this year, just this year, but it's been growing over the last decade. With the owner, with Bitcoin and the true ownership run monetary system, people who own Bitcoin and trade with it. And now we have the creator economy, the emergence of NFTs and the explosion of NFTs this year. We're going to be looking at NFTs in the marketplaces, and we're going to be covering crypto economic systems from some of the early research and some of the emergent jobs and potential roles that will come through this new world of new economic models. We're going to be engaging with the foundations and the concepts, and Greg's going to be showing us the tools in the context of building our marketplace. And then we're going to build and locally host an NFT marketplace for ourselves. But first, it's all about incentives. The world's changing. At all levels of crypto and economic systems are shifting. Like the way the application layer of our technologies have converged around a few centralized platforms. They've stripped the sovereignty away from people that congregate and collaborate and share over those networks and platforms. Over the last 18 months, we've seen a debasement of our fiat currencies around the world and the accelerated adoption of alternatives. Like the transition of entire nations away from centralized currencies to user-owned monetary systems. The creator economy has emerged this year in the shape of NFTs. The Unique team has made it easy to pair the ownership structures inherent to blockchain to the creative economies. Why is this important? Well, to have your own marketplace or a brand marketplace where you can create, sell, collect, and trade NFTs, whatever your creative ambition, by extending ownership to the level of the market, you can set your own fee. Select the collections exchangeable and tradable in your market. Like Polkadot and Substrate, a heterogeneous landscape, each with a differently aligned incentive is healthy and can lead to opportunities to build communities, create NFT arbitrage markets, use NFTs for collateral, or create yield-bearing NFTs. Like we'll go on to, like we've created and Alex has created through the unique NFT.io marketplace. All right, so speaking of the unique NFT.io marketplace, here it is. We have the collections, the Substrate and the cello bricks, and all of the features that you'll require to run a market. Here's the market itself with the collections on the left-hand side, filters, and here's the traits, which you can filter the searches. Then you have a section of My Tokens, your history of your trades, the accounts that you've connected to your marketplace. It's built with our open source tools, and all of those can be found on our GitHub repository. It's the culmination of all the hard work Greg and the team building on the Kusama success of 2020. It has all the key features. Now, the incentive at the beginning for these NFTs was the collectibles. There were this rarity and the different traits once airdropped to the participants of Kusama, and then earlier on this year, Polkadot conference earlier on this year, we've taken the incentive to another level. To reward the early community, in the summer, Alex, our CEO, wanted to reward the early adopters and the community members. So Greg pulled a snapshot of holders of both cello bricks and Substrate. And from September 2021, accounts holding both the cello and a Substrate receive a share of 50% of the revenue collected from the trades on the marketplace. This creates a yield-bearing asset for early adopters, the collector, from a collectible NFT game. Are the avatars in your social media generating you an income? It's all about incentives, and they can change. You can design and engineer your own tokenized ecosystem with NFTs and your own market. All right, so this is it. We take the ownership economy, the creativity endowed through the artworks, and in this case, collectibles, a collectibles game with rarity and traits. And then you take the creative, the community that's surrounded those NFTs, and you've truly got a crypto native economy. It's sovereignty, it's a model for creativity, and it's a community for collectors. And they get 50% of the unique NFT, or a share of the 50% of the unique NFT.io fee from trades. And it's fun. Hopefully we've got community members in the chat, and we'll speak to them afterwards in our Discord and the Sub0 Discord channel. Now we have projects spinning out either side of these projects, either side of these NFTs. We've got Substrate Buds, Spunk Bits, we've got a huge community just chomping at the bit to bring out their creativity. Now this is something called Lin Gin coined in a tweet storm that she posted last year. And this is the enterprisation of the consumer, where you start off as a consumer of a product, but then quickly you can become the creator. Okay, so now it's going to get a bit more serious. This is drawn from Michael Zargham's Foundations for Crypto Economic Systems. Systems here, like on the right-hand side, the systems here are like the power grid, the mobile communications infrastructure, and the physical infrastructure that's becoming more and more available to the population of the world. More and more people are coming online, more and more people are gaining access. We live in a time of great abundance. Now, the internet has a physical infrastructure, but it's also a piece of cultural infrastructure. Web3 is the next iteration of the digital economy. And unique, and all of these factors, it's a unique digital economy. All of these factors influence crypto systems. Now, if you take that back to our unique NFT marketplace, we've got emergence, we've got emergent creativity, we've got non-linearity, we don't know what's going to happen. We've got spontaneous order, we've got people buying and selling and trading these these NFTs and creating their own products, their own NFTs and their own businesses and their own services inspired by the work that we've done so far. Now, it's adaptive, it's multi-scale, and it's nested. Okay, so we have a crypto economic system, but it fits within our economic systems, our social systems, and then complex systems, and then systems in general. Now, all of this plies together to create crypto economic systems. Now, this is also from the same paper, and this really illustrates the breadth and range of what tokens really mean and where they draw their influence from. So you've got industrials and systems engineering influencing, systems dynamic design. We've got AI and optimization and control theory governing taking the bridge from the physical infrastructure into the software-defined networks. We've got computer science and cryptography. This is crypto. Foundations of this are built on the huge advances we've had in cryptography over the last decades. Psychology and decision science, right? What makes people buy an NFT? What drives them to your market? What drives them to your NFTs? We've got political science and governance, right? Why are people adopting alternative currencies? What is happening around the world? What's happening in the greater cultural in our society to drive people to these alternatives? Why do they see them as better alternatives? We've got law, philosophy, and ethics. Great conversations going on around governance and out into the regulatory environment. Well, economics and game theory, obviously the core of any of these, of the proposition in Substrate and Cello Bricks is that it's a game. It's a collectibles game. Who can find and collect the rarest traits for the lowest price? Who can flip them? Why would you flip them? When do you flip them? Do you hold? Do you roll? Operations research and management science. It all ties into these crypto economic systems. And in the context of building an NFT marketplace, all of these influences are built in. And they're going to build jobs of the future. This is how crypto economic systems are built, not just by the engineers and the designers and by the programmers and by the cryptographers, but it's a much, much broader field that people are drawing from. What Unique Network does is it abstracts away the complexity in order to get more people and more creatives and more people building with NFTs with Unique Network. Okay, another great chart. This looks very structural, but it's actually non-linear. So let's take the example that we built and Alex built out from the Unique NFT IO marketplace. We've got an algorithmic policy on the right-hand side. It's automated administration. Greg has built an escrow contract that's trust minimized. Okay, so it's administered by an address, by an account. And when you buy an NFT, post price is matched from a buyer. Now this is a trust minimized exchange. An escrow, familiar with escrow? It's like having a Swiss bank in your bank account, in your back pocket. It's exactly the same. Why do people need offshore bank accounts? Well, it's because they don't trust each other. Trust in trustless environments. So that is the algorithmic policy. We've got the technological infrastructure with the platform, the page, the web page, and those interact with the human agents on the left-hand side. So people come to the Unique website, come to the marketplace, and they make assessments. They try and decide which cellos do they like. There are subjective decisions here, and also then they're mixed with the objective traits of those NFTs, all mixed in. Now, all of these feedback loops are working continually all through the process. Now then, what happened was there was an airdrop of these tokens to the participants and people who were in and around the events. of last year and this year. And then this later on in the summer, we changed that top box, social governance, to human steering, is that we built a community, we built collectors, and they've been inspired to go off and try their own projects. But then to reward those early adopters, Alex decided to distribute 50% of the market trading fees to any account that was holding both a Cello Brick and a Substrate. So this is an adaptive, emergent system that you can change and create spontaneous order and spontaneous chaos, all governed by dynamic feedback loops. And again, multi-scale. We have whales operating, and you have the chance to snap up an absolute bargain at the bottom end of the floor price, right? So this is all adaptive, all emergent, and it's agents in a system. Okay, so why NFTs and why build an NFT marketplace? This is the creator economy. This is the year of the creator economy. The creation of assets and services that earn while you sleep. It's being able to contact your most creative endeavors, to engage with your ambitions, your dreams, and then take them to the market, but not any market, your market, where you determine the fee. And then you can take that, then build brand, if you like, and then you can attract and permission other collections to be sold at your marketplace. If that's how you, so if that's what you desire, it's very flexible. We've got a really flexible model at Unique. And then you pair that with the ownership economy inherent and been building through Bitcoin and Ethereum and all of the rest of the digital currencies that have grown, and tokenized systems that have emerged over the last years. And that builds new economies, new emergent economies, built from user-owned networks, communities built around standards, token standards, but also community standards, which goes back to that token flower, right? There are political and social, computational science, it's all bundled here. Now, this then raises the question, how do we sustain? Well, Trent from Ocean Protocols written a really great series, I've put it in the link, about talking about the Web3 sustainability loop. And I think Alex has taken the first steps with the marketplace to generate that, take the first step to regenerate that Web3 sustainability loop by distributing the funds, 50% of the fee back to the early adopters. Okay, so here are a couple of resources, a few resources that we'll share in the chat, but we don't really have time to go into now. And now we've got Lin Gin, enterprisation of the consumer. It's a great pathway that charts the digital landscape through its epochs, its eras, through Web 1 through to Web 2, and now into the Web 3 era, and all of the different questions and incentives that they bring forth. Okay, we've got token engineering. Now, here's a link to token engineering community, their GitHub, and there's you can find a whole host of resources, a community, and free tools like CAD for modeling your token designs. Now, Jesse Walden has written a great op-ed piece about the past, the present, and the future of co-ops in crypto networks. Now, it's a really influential piece, and it's highly worth I recommend reading that before you start. But just as like a point of interest. And then Trent's Web3 sustainability loop, an incredible piece, really comprehensive look at the current landscape of governance and how we fund ourselves into not just sustainability, but into growth of the Web3 economy. Okay, to reiterate, our market, and after this, your market, serves as an example of how a new model of digital commerce can be instantiated. As creators, you can own the market and define the parameters of how you wish. You can set fees, set rewards for your community, allow certain actions and for certain accounts, and the possibilities are really endless. Now, these are the core features of the unique network. We are able to separate the digital asset and logic, determining the rules of those digital assets. We have contract ownership as well as asset ownership. We offer a sponsorship of transactions, and we have an application sponsorship program that's from within Unique Network. At the moment, centralized, but there's also the possibility for you to sponsor transactions for your users. Now, this further abstracts away the crypto. It gives you the potential then to completely free up your application's experience, your UX for your visitors. You can completely abstract away the crypto. We've got flexible economic models where you can create your own project token to pay the network fees. And then the gradation of permissions, the ownership, administration, and then allow lists where you can gamify, you can structure logic however you like. And that's an off-chain, right? So there's on-chain permissions, but really that's an off-chain decision that governs your business logic. Now we've got bridging to other networks, lending, borrowing, sharing, displaying, and we've also got an Unreal Engine plugin in the development. So this is really taking NFTs into the games environment without taking the games developer out of theirs. I like this slide. Anything that reaches your creativity, that touches you, that you feel is worth taking to the market, you can tokenize. And really, NFTs can take metadata. Off-chain schema can link to anything. Right? What lies on-chain is the NFT, but where it links, where the metadata and the off-chain schema draws from, is really up to you. And the combinations are unlimited. In the coming weeks, Greg will be hosting an NFT games workshop. So stay tuned to our channels and our socials to hear more about that. But at the heart of it, the off-chain schema is where you define the NFTs, the component parts that make up the cellos and the punk collections. Really, it's down to you and your creativity. Okay, so this is a high-level diagram of the NFT chain and how the diversity of applications layer can connect. Link to the documentation in the chat. We'll dive a little deeper into the basic interactions later on when we're building our market with Greg. The Unique Network aims to provide a feature-rich and flexible configuration experience for its users. This includes multiple authorization levels, economic models that enable freemium applications to administration options, advanced spam protection. The goal is to cover a broad spectrum of NFT applications, development needs, and provide maximum flexibility at a low and affordable cost, even to abstract that cost away from your end user. To reiterate, NFTs are set to ignite the creator economy. It's only just begun. The inherent control of ownership blockchains have given us, and now the gradation of permissions that can instantiate your own business models and market policies. This is already converging around standards like ARC 721. We've seen a huge explosion around the royalty standards, and where the technology meets creativity, and where you can that part of the sustainability loop, where rewards can be continually received for the original creator, really is a game changer in the digital landscape. Then there are DAOs, but that's for another day. Governance. Unique Network is about the co-composability of assets and economies. Now the game changes when you stack up the incentives. All right, selling a token. Here we go. I'm going to take you through step-by-step of selling a token on an NFT marketplace to really illustrate to you what it is to create an NFT marketplace and how it works under the hood. Now, Greg's going to take you through building it, and you'll get another run through of this when Greg shows us the end result, but in an actual marketplace that he's going to build locally on his machine. Okay, so on the right-hand side, you have your front-end application. Now the user initializes the selling on the front end. The front end creates the NFT transfer transaction from the user to the escrow address and asks the user to sign it. The user signs it. And once the transfer is final, the escrow server scans and transfers the block and registers the transfer in the matcher smart contract so that the matcher has the information who owns the token initially and now that it's deposited in escrow. The front end waits for the deposit registration and prompts the user for a price in KSM. The user prints the price in an ask transaction is started, which calls the ask method of the matcher smart contract. The matcher smart contract compares the address that signed the ask transaction with the address that registered the token escrow deposit, and if the addresses match, creates an offer, an ask. That ties the deposited token with a price. The back end then caches the offer in the list of tokens for sale. So the smart contract is not asked for it through contracts RPC every time somebody opens the main marketplace page. All right, so that takes you through the step-by-step placing an NFT on sale using the Unique Network white label suite of tools. So here, the front end doesn't have to, you don't have to call the matcher contract each time somebody opens the application. All right, buying a token. A little bit more complicated here because we've got to introduce the market fee. Now the user selects the NFT to buy and enters its page. The front end calculates the commission. In this case, it's 2%. And adds that to the token price. The sum is displayed on the button and details are displayed below. The user initiates the purchase, but presses the buy button, and the UI sends the request to the smart contract to know what the KSM balance the buyer has and has previously sent to the escrow, which is not used for any purchases. The UI creates a transaction to send KSM, whatever the amount needed, from the user to the escrow. The user signs it, transaction is broadcast. Once the KSM transfer is final, the escrow scans the transaction block and registers the KSM deposit in the matcher smart contract so that the matcher has information that certain KSM balance was received from the buyer. Also, the escrow deducts the 2% commission at this point. So the KSM amount gets registered. The KSM amount that gets registered is not included in, does not include commission and equals to 102% of the ask price. UI waits until the KSM registration has been successful and sends the buy transaction calls buy method buy of the matcher smart contract. And the contract checks that an offer exists and that adequate KSM was deposited, registered by the escrow for the buyer. That executes the exchange of KSM for NFT. Matcher contract emits the sell event, and that contains the seller address, buyer address, collection, and token IDs, and the price. The matcher contract registers NFT token withdrawal event and the KSM withdrawal event. Oops. Escrow scans the matcher contract, that gets withdrawn, signs and sends withdrawal transactions for KSM to the seller and NFT to the buyer. Backend scans the token sold event and caches the trade in the table. All right, so those are the steps. This is how escrow works and how Greg has created. Greg and the team at Unique, core team, have created an escrow contract that's trust minimized. Now, trust minimization is something that we'll get into when Greg takes us through the workshop. When I'll leave that up to, we'll cross that bridge when we cover it. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to build. Now, here are the prerequisites. You can use, I've set this up on Mac OS. I've actually done it on a Raspberry Pi, but you can use Ubuntu. either of those OSs, you'll need Docker Community Edition and Docker Compose. Docker Compose comes with the Docker Community Edition, both on Mac and Ubuntu distributions. You'll need some familiarity with Git, not much. Greg will show you through, and we've got all of the resources in the repository that we shared in the resources list. And you'll need Google Chrome in order to display your marketplace once it's built. So we're going to hand over now to Greg, who's going to take us through the build of the marketplace. Stop sharing my screen.
Okay, let's get our hands dirty. Now, yes, like Daniel said, here are the prerequisites. Very simple ones, nothing fancy. We don't need really deep skills for Docker or Git, nothing like a DevOps engineer would need to have. Just basic familiarity. And let's start. Here's the repository with README. I'm gonna go along with this README file. It's really detailed. You see, it's very long. I have multiple pages here, and you can. I recommend that if you'd like to install the marketplace locally, just go to that repository and open this README file and go and just go along. So that's what I'm going to do anyway. So you can pause the videos if it's recorded. I hope it's recorded. You can pause it at any time and figure out some steps if they don't go smoothly through, or you need to play a little bit more with this. But anyway. So the first, and yeah, like I said, the steps are very, very detailed. We don't count that a person who installs a marketplace or who tries to run it locally doesn't have any prior experience with Polkadot ecosystem. That's why we're in the beginner stage. But it's the so I'm not even going to go through some steps because they are, well, pretty basic, and they are very well described here because I already have the Polkadot extension here, and I have a couple of accounts set up. But anyway, these explain how to install it, how to create an address, back up the seed for that address. You'll need all of that, and copy the address. And it also explains how to get some unique tokens. We have a Telegram bot, a unique to faucet bot. These are testnet tokens. They don't have any value. So we give you can get 1,000 coins which is basically enough to run any experiment. I'm not going to do that. I'll just show that I already have an account and I have some balance. 500 tokens is quite enough. It's more than we need today. And by the way, I had to run this version of Apps UI v0.96.1 locally. You see, I'm running it on localhost, just because deploying smart contracts is for some reason is broken on the Polkadot.js version, the one that's hosted by Parity. But so anyway, the beauty of open source is that we can always use tools locally. We can run it locally and host it here on my computer. So yes, once I figured that out today, I just ran it on my PC. Okay, so let's start. So we'll start with deploying the marketplace smart contract. Here we have we have these two files, the match.wasm and metadata JSON file. This is a compiled smart contract for that marketplace, and this is the ABI file for that. That's so helpful for front-end developers. And I already pre-downloaded it on my system, so I don't need to do this. But these are links, and they are placed on that in the same repository, so you get them easily. And once I open this link, I will get here. contracts. So there is nothing different from the regular process how we deploy the smart contract. I need to first specify the ABI file here, and then second I will put the WASM file, and I give it some name. I just like to capitalize it. Matcher. Okay, let's go next. See what we need here. Yeah, we do need to give it some endowment. So what endowment is? It's for Inc smart contracts for the parity for the contract palette. It's the balance that would the contract would need to keep on its on its address, and it's used to pay the data storage fee. Otherwise, if the contract doesn't have enough, it will become uncallable and then dormant. We don't want it. We don't want to get it. We don't want it to get into the state because we're not going to be able to use it. But if we keep the balance high enough, it doesn't even decrease. It works sort of like staking. Here, if we keep the balance high enough, it eliminates the need to pay the storage fees. So I'll put 300 uniques here, which should be enough to run in an average simple marketplace. In unique network, the UNQ NFT IO marketplace, we have endowment of about probably something around 1,000 uniques, which is also fine at the volumes we have. And now I'm going to deploy it, which is just as straightforward as usual. Okay, I have it deployed now, and I see you see it's almost 300 uniques here on its balance. And I'm not going to go far from this guide, so I'm gonna I already did this step, endowment. Here's what it says 300 uniques. Be careful about this because the picture says 100. It's also fine, but it's gonna run it for about a few days and then the marketplace will stop working. But it's easily fixable if you transfer more to it. When transaction completes, you see this green bar. We also seen it. Okay, we are through this step. See, it's and now what we need to do is to set the admin for that smart contract. Why we separate owner of a smart contract from the admin? Because technically we know who deployed it, so we could use the deployer address here. But sometimes it just makes sense to separate permissions because the admin is the account that is going to run on the server automatically, so that the seed to this account is not going to be called. It makes it to the secret storage or whatever DevOps process implies to put the secret in the server. So technically, it can get compromised. It has higher risk of being compromised than an owner seed. So we separated just in case if the marketplace runs a lot of Kusama through or a lot of other currencies through, a lot of value. In that case, for the demo purpose, I can use the same account. So I'm using the market admin to call this method because market admin deployed this contract. I'm calling the set admin account, and I'm setting the admin to market admin. So it's going to be the same address, though technically it doesn't have to be. It can be a user, some other user, or some other account. Okay, so let's run this transaction. And the reason I let Daniel talk so long is because it's really simple, and you see, I'm going to finish in less than an hour. Okay, it's done. So this step is through, and this one is also through. Now we have set up our smart contract. That's all. So all we need to do now is to copy its address. It's really easy to do with clicking on this ornament. I click on it here, and I copy it. I created a checklist, a small checklist for myself. So here is what all the things I need to record. So I need matcher contract address. I need admin seed. Oh, I'm not gonna put it here on purpose. It's just, let's pretend I have it here. But I just don't wanna get it recorded on a video. And here's how we get the admin address. Also click on ornament here in the Polkadot extension and paste it here. All right. So looks like I have everything I need. Let's see, what can I do with this information? Now it's time to clone the marketplace code from GitHub. After I run this command, I just I ran it. I cheated a little bit. I ran it ahead of time. So, but if I run it, I get everything copied to that folder, marketplace Docker. And you see, I have those files already here, so I have something to work with. Okay, let's see what else I need to do. I need to check out the feature easy start. These instructions say so. Okay, let's do it. Well, I'm already in that branch, but I'll do this. It says already on feature start, feature easy start. And I'm gonna initialize submodules. It has some dependencies, and why we have this repository is because the marketplace has really microservice architecture. It's built of several components. That's why we have these Docker Compose files. It has several components. It has a couple of escrow services. It has UI, and it has a service layer. All these components run as well, almost as a standalone service, as a microservice. That's why we need this single repository that collects all working and combines all working versions with each other, so that we have something working in the end, because, well, not always compatible with each other. Okay, well, we did this, and I'll show you just in a moment how this is achieved, since we have lots of time. Git modules. All right, see this, we have UI branch v01 lite, web API v01 lite, escrow unique v03, escrow Kusama v03. These are versions that work together. We checked they do work together, so we are safe to combine them here. And this file basically stores the current state of the combination, the current working combination. Okay, but you don't need to think about it. It's just to explain how things work. Okay, we are ready here, and now we need to use that information that I stored in my checklist here. We need to use it to combine into to configure the environment and files. Let's see what it means. I'm gonna use Crusader. I like UI file managers. Okay, here's here's my folder where I checked out the project, and I have an sample file here. See, it's it looks like this. So I have some database configuration. We don't need to touch that. Admin seed. Okay, I have it. When I created the admin account, I saved it, and I hidden it securely. Matcher contract address. Okay, that's where where the matcher address goes. The address of the marketplace that we just created. The contract, the smart contract that we just created. And these two endpoints we don't really need to touch, because this is the test point to unique network node, and this is the endpoint for Kusama. I'm gonna make a little pause here because well, Daniel was talking about the process how we accept Kusama and then register in a smart contract. Technically, this works like a centralized bridge. It's we say it's trust minimized because the trust window is really minimal. We receive some KSM on that address, on the admin address, and we register it in matcher contract immediately. So yes, this is a compromise between full decentralization and some efficiency in terms of development. In this case, we didn't need much or ultimate decentralization. We decided it would be enough to work through the through matcher contract so that it becomes transparent, so everybody can see what happens, or what we received, and after we register it on a smart contract, it becomes much more difficult to cheat the system from inside or from outside. So we think it's a good compromise. That's why we call it that way. So, and commission is the last thing we can configure here. It's in percent. It's 10% commission that the UNQ NFT IO marketplace charges now. That's why it's 10 here. We have 10 here. All right. And by the way, 10% commission is not the minimal. We know that. It's we're trying to create some competition for ourselves, because we think this should be decentralized. It shouldn't be a single marketplace. That's why we're opening all tools. That's why we're having so high commission here. It's because we welcome competition. Okay, now let's edit the end file. I have it pre-edited here. So for the backend, I have this file. You see the admin seed is hidden down below so that nobody can see it, but it can be here. And the matcher contract, I'll put it here just instead of this placeholder contract address. There you go. All right, so the backend is configured. Now all I need to do is just copy this file here in the backend folder. And now let's go again here. So we edited the end file, change the admin address to the 12-word mnemonic phrase, change the matcher contract address to the one we got from here. I'm sorry, yeah, it's easier to show here. Just here, click, and it's copied. Yeah, we left the rest intact, and that's what we got in the result. Well, except admin seed was hidden. Now let's configure front end. It's even easier because we don't need to hide anything. Everything that goes to front end is public, as it should be. Pages, apps, there it is. So here we have the example of end file again. This is it has a lot of configurations. That doesn't mean we need to change everything. All we need to change now is contract address here and escrow address, which is basically the admin address. I'm gonna open it here front and show you. So contract address, it needs to go here. All right, I'm gonna remove that and save it. And escrow address is the second thing I need to change here. Let's do that. Escrow and admin, it's basically the same thing. Okay, done already. I have configured front end, and all I need to do is copy it here. And again, let's check I did everything right. Empty end file in the UI packages/apps folder. Let's check if I did it right. UI packages/apps, yes. And I put this info in there. Change the contract address, change the escrow address. Oh, one thing I forgot about. Okay. Here are the unique collection IDs that we're going to trade. So because, well, because I'm running the marketplace for unique demonstration, I'm going to use my favorite two collections, 23 and 25. It's IDs for Substrate punks and Cellebricks. Okay, that's all. And if you need to list more collections, you can list them through comma here, or you can just list one. That's also fine. Make sure you have at least one, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Okay. And this guy already has the right collections. I did it, I just didn't talk about it. Okay. All right, so looks like everything is set up. Let's see, what should I do next? Okay, next step is building. Here is what you can do if you want to pre-pool Docker images. This is another thing I did before this workshop, so that we don't wait for the Docker IO to respond. And then all we need to do is run this command, docker compose, to find the docker compose local file, up-d-build. Let's do it. -f specify docker compose local. I'm telling up, build. All right. Now it's building. Okay. It's gonna build fairly quickly. So the longest time we're probably spending waiting for the UI to build. While it's building, let's see. So this is where it's going to respond on localhost 3000. And I'm going to open the NFT IO just to see what we expect to appear at the end. Okay, here it is. This is the live marketplace, and this is so it's gonna go when it's gonna go live. We're gonna see something similar here. Okay, yeah. And let's see if I missed anything. Yeah, it says I can open it on localhost. Yes. And on the first launch, we see the request. Yeah, we're not going to see it because I already clicked the allow application access, but that's fine. You'll see that first time because we need to authorize that extension. Okay. And okay, it's almost over. It usually takes about a couple minutes. It's taken a couple of minutes on the fast PC. This is really fast machine, but I'm using it to build runtime. But here's while we're waiting, I'll show how I ran this apps UI. It's GitHub Parity Tech, I think. Not on a Parity Tech, Polka.js. There it is. Apps. Here's releases. I used this tag, the last one that was tagged by Jaco 24 days ago, v096.1. This is the one that works with smart contracts still. Okay, let's see. All right, it's almost over. Its Webpack is compiled. It says, and in probably, I would say, 1 or 2 minutes, it's going to be ready. Okay. It's done. Okay, so we see that. Now let's see, before we jump in and see marketplace, let's make sure we have all processes running. Docker PS tells us we have front end, market API, which is service layer, escrow Kusama, and escrow unique, and market DB, market database. Everything looks fine so far. Let's see how it's really operating. Docker logs. I want to see, look at the escrow unique. What's really doing it in the background? Okay, it's connected to testnet unique network. Escrow address. It looks like everything's fine. There was a hiccup somewhere here. I don't know what it is really, but it's fine. Yeah, it's working here. I see the escrow admin address is correct, which means good. And let's check 5HG35 is my, yeah, everything's fine. And it's scanning blocks, which is important because, well, that's what escrow does. It's waiting for transactions. Okay, let's see if it really worked. And yes, it did. You see, it opened already. So you have I have a it reads the accounts from here from the Polkadot.js extension, and I have a happy user here, which he's so happy because he has 2 cello bricks. Now let's open market page. I'm gonna zoom in. Maybe it's gonna be a little bit more visible. Okay, there's nothing here yet because the marketplace is just built. There's no liquidity in this marketplace. There are no tokens listed. Let's list one. Let's list this this guy in the blue short. I'm gonna come here, zoom out a little bit. Okay, let's sell it. Like Dan said, we have to sign first transaction that sends it to escrow to that. And by the way, as we're waiting, I'm gonna see what's happening in the background. You see, the escrow detected that NFT is received here, and it registers it. After it registers, we are gonna see, all right, it's already registered. So it's asking me for the Kusama price, KSM price. I want to sell it for a lot of money. I'm gonna sell it for 10 is not enough. 20 Kusama. Greedy. Okay. Okay. We're setting the price, which means we're running a transaction. And let's see, yeah, it appeared in the marketplace. If I was another user, I would be able to see a buy button. I only have 2 of them, so I'm not going to show how we buy it, and especially it burns so much. Well, it's not the fees on Kusama are much better now, but it still doesn't make much sense. So you see, it's I delisted it, I canceled, and okay, it's now back in my wallet, and there's nothing in the market. So the marketplace works. You might have noticed I have some unique balance here, which is well, it's handy when I have this demo, but it might be a little bit inconvenient for users who are just newcomers who don't know how to get unique. Let me show you this in a live QNFT.io. Here is the happy user. Okay. Note that it's 868.79. I'm going to transfer all this balance out of this account now and show you how this works here, because the live marketplace is sponsored. This is what Daniel was saying. We can allow the application owners to sponsor their users' transactions. This is so convenient to do with NFTs. So I would imagine another projects using this feature as well. But with NFTs, it's so easy to enforce and protect from spamming that we just couldn't resist from going for it. So I'm gonna transfer everything out of this account. Happy user is gonna send everything he has to my market admin. Just read this out. Okay. Okay, I have some left over because we have really low existential deposit, I think, and but this is not enough to even to transfer a token. This should not be enough, but in this marketplace, I'm gonna try to list it now. Watch this balance. It's not gonna change after when I list it. It's because, well, first I do the same thing. I'm gonna press the sell button and transfer it to the escrow. Okay, good. It didn't change, 91.98. Though transaction minted. Now I'm gonna wait for register and set price. The balance is not gonna change either. Because we not only sponsor the transfers of NFTs, but we also sponsor the smart contract. There you go. It didn't change. You don't need, basically, it doesn't need to be that number. It can be just 0. People don't need unique unique users. This marketplace users don't need uniques to run transactions. It's the marketplace owner who sponsors them. This is very handy for application owners who know how to monetize their applications, because fees are not so high. It's the application owner can really afford paying the fees for their users, especially if they know how to monetize the application. But it becomes so much more convenient for users who don't need to think about private keys and go into the exchange to get some cryptocurrency. We remove so many steps that are really unnecessary. Okay, and I even improvised a little bit by showing how to how the sponsoring works. We have some time left. I can show how to set up sponsoring, and then we'll have some time for questions. So how the sponsoring works, it's technically it's very well, it's not so complex to do with apps UI here through extrinsics, but we're going to have the collection administrator shortly. It's actually in development, and hopefully we're going to deliver it soon. But how it's done here, if a happy user owned a collection, they will just call set collection sponsor here, and let's say they own collection 123, whatever. They designate some sponsor here. They say, okay, market admin would be a sponsor, and then a market admin would say, okay, yes, I confirm that sponsorship, and they put collection 123 and sign a transaction again, and they become the sponsor of collection 123. Why we need it to be two-step? Because the evil users, or somebody might want to just somebody might just do this in a mistake. They may assign a wrong address or address without any balance to be a sponsor. This will lock out the collection, or well, if market admin was really a different person and they didn't want to sponsor this transaction, it would deplete their well, it would abuse their balance. They will be using their balance to pay the transaction fees for this collection. That's not fair. So that's why we need the second address to confirm. And another thing is that's how we sponsor the collections. Another thing, we can sponsor contracts to set collection sponsor and send contract sponsor. Where is it? Oh, enable contract sponsoring. There it is. So we just put the contract address matcher here, and we say yes or no. That's going to be just one step, because if we enable it, and by the way, only contract owner can do this, the address who deployed it. But if we enable it, the transaction fees that are sent to the smart contract, for the transactions that are sent to the smart contract, are going to be paid through this smart contract endowment. And again, endowment is this balance that we send it in the beginning, and we also can send some more tokens to this contract. That's how it's done today for contracts. So once we do these 2 steps, the marketplace becomes completely sponsored. We need also to set up the rate limiting. So it's sponsored for, well, some rare occasions but if we want to every transaction to be sponsored, every sale to be sponsored, there's one more thing to do. We need to set up collection rate limit, the set collection sponsoring rate limit, and contract sponsoring rate limit. Why we have rate limits in place is because we need to protect the sponsor. They might not want to sponsor every transaction. For example, if we set collection sponsor collection sponsoring rate limit to, we can set it to 1 block. In that case, every transfer transaction is going to be sponsored, or we can set it to let's say something like 7,000 blocks. It's going to sponsor every transaction in 24 hours, something like that. But anyway, so that's a protection measure that I need to take for the collection owners and sponsors. Okay, I think it's good time for questions.
Thanks, Greg. That was great. That was really good. And thank you for taking us through all of the extras there. Now, when you're setting up your marketplace and you're setting the permissions and placing your seed phrase in the environment file, what kind of precautions do you have to take if you were going to put this into a production environment?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks. I didn't talk about this. So when you put this in a production environment, most likely you're going to run a server in some kind of cloud like AWS or DigitalOcean or Hessner. It would depend on what your cloud infrastructure suggests or supports, because there's well, the secret management is a special science. In the easiest case, you might want to use just GitHub Actions, and it allows you to handle secrets in some way. Amazon also suggests something, I think. And if you are placing the marketplace up just to play around and maybe show to a couple of investors, or just to make sure it runs in proof of concept mode, of course it's easier just to copy and paste the seed phrase in the end file, and that will be sufficient, because just make sure you don't share passwords to your cloud account with anyone, or with anyone you don't trust.
Good advice. Good advice. Now, when you create an NFT and the off-chain schema, that calls the component parts for the NFTs that we create with Unique Network, where's that data stored? Where can you store that data?
I didn't talk about the off-chain schema yet. It's because it's actually, if you want to listen for the workshop, NFT workshop I'm gonna have in about a couple of weeks, I'll talk more about this. But yes, the data is stored on chain. But the beauty of off-chain schema is that we can set up collection data with just one link, or basically one JSON file, and you can have multiple tokens, multiple NFTs that comply with the same schema. Basically, what we've done for Celebrix or Substrate, we have a single place where the schema is stored, the off-chain schema, which points to the folder where we can find images for every Celebrix image, Celebrix and Substrate. and we don't need to spend a lot of space on storing the data. So this is very lean. We save it one time, and then after that, it doesn't matter how many tokens you have. They're not going to spend extra time. So we are saving on efficiency. We're saving on storage, on the state. We're not expanding the state by adding a lot of NFTs. So NFTs become really, really lean. And I probably should talk about more about the on-chain data. Well, I'm not going to talk a lot, but on-chain data is something that's stored in the token metadata. You've seen the traits or the properties of the tokens, of the jailbreaks or substrate punks. These are basically not stored in a text way on the tokens. We are storing them in a binary way, and these beautiful traits that you see are just a few bytes.
Very efficient, right?
Yeah, very efficient. I'm going to tell more about this in the workshop, but
yeah, I didn't want to give too much. I don't want to give too much away, but stay tuned to our channel, stay tuned to our socials, and join our Discord channel. We're going to drop those in there. We've got the links to our Discord channel in the Discord, the Sub0 Discord channel that they've created for our workshop today. And stay tuned. Lots of exciting announcements on the horizon. Obviously, lots of exciting things happening in the Polkadot ecosystem around us. But keep a close eye on what's happening at Unique Network, because we've got Greg's workshop coming up in the next couple of weeks. We've got Arena doing a whole host of events in Lisbon over the next 2 weeks, and Sharu is queuing up all kinds of AMAs for Alex, our CEO, to talk at around the world and spread and share the message. He'll be speaking pretty much continually now, I think, up until about Christmas. I think that's how hard Sharu's working him right now. Thanks, Greg. This has been absolutely fantastic to have you to take us through setting up the white label suite using this really simple instructions and tutorials that really offers up a chance to just experiment, right? To get a feel for Substrate, get a feel for accounts. If you're new to Substrate and this is your first time working in or trying out blockchain, I think it's a really great stepping stone, a really great way to get into working with blockchains and developing or taking that first step into development. But I've got a question. If you're a little bit more advanced, if you've got a little bit more experience, we've just released an SDK that the more experienced developers can dive in. Can you tell us a little bit about the SDK, Greg?
Yeah, sure. What we're trying to do with this SDK, it's built for the marketplace primarily, and you might have noticed that we have we split the marketplace into several components, and UI is just one of them. So I think the most reasonable thing is to change the UI if you want to build your own marketplace. It's the first thing that anybody is going to do anyway, and UI is not so simple to change. Sometimes it's just well, it's a lot of code. You've seen it was building for so long time while the backend was up pretty quickly, and there is a reason behind it. It's well, it's complex code. If you want to build something simpler or something different, maybe completely different, I can imagine they're probably, well, it's only limited with imagination of people who are building. You can use SDK to basically run very common transactions, very common operations with the marketplace. You can list token, you can delist it, and you can buy it with the SDK. And do a couple more things like read the token data. Everything that you need, every blockchain operation that you need to do with a marketplace is exposed through SDK, while everything else, well, design, layout, we can leave it out, and we can leave people who build their marketplaces do on their own.
Cool, very cool. That it's being able to change, giving you the flexibility to be able to change what we have from this demonstration into something more bespoke. Right.
Yep.
Very cool. Now, talk to us about the fee. Now, we're from the community. We have some pushback about that the 10% fee on each trade. Now, that hasn't affected the floor price increasing over the last number of weeks. But let's talk a little bit about the heterogeneous marketplace for NFTs. Like, how do you see that coming forth? Like, we have the tools now, and after your workshop, you'll be able to create your own games, your own NFT games. But how do you see that unfolding into the future? What do you see as the next step for NFT marketplaces built with Unique?
Well, yeah, I really hope it's going to take, well, every marketplace is going to take its niche. That's at least what we've been seeing a little bit happening. And as we evolve, as we deploy our mainnet and really start working, I hope we're going to see many marketplaces deployed, and some of them are going to take niches. Some of them are going to compete. We really support the competition here, because, well, we hope the ecosystem is going to evolve. That's again, that's why we take 10% commission. But well, then you already said that we gave out 50% of that commission back to community. And by the way, I think this was a brilliant idea to decentralize NFTs even more.
I think it was a great step, right, in terms of changing the incentive of a marketplace. I think it was really good. It was a really inspirational move, really great way to, like, it's that flywheel, right? That Web3 flywheel. It's how to turn creators and the enterprisation of the consumer, turn that the buyers, the early community members are now becoming the creators. Now it's a great start. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing the more developments and seeing the new marketplaces that emerge. Okay, well, I think that about wraps it up. Thank you. Thanks again, Greg. That was absolutely great to take us through.
Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah, it was really cool. That was really great. Now, is Sasha there? Are we back?
Hey guys, yeah, I've been listening very intently in the back here. First off, guys, this was a wonderful workshop. I loved how, Daniel, you kind of painted the picture, right, of like what we're talking about. You know, you introduced these terms that I wrote down that I thought were really cool, like the okay, I can't even say it anymore. The enterprisation of the consumer, right? Yes. Well, yeah. So very interesting terms, like new ownership paradigms. Like, we're really talking about like these, so socioeconomical paradigms that I think are very new, and we're discovering how to use them and make use of them. And then Greg comes in with, this is how it works, right? And by the way, guys, like, Greg is the CTO of Unique Network, and he really not only knows these tools familiarly, he knows them very intimately, but he also knows where they're going to go, and reading the docs, like learning right from the source, right? Like, this is a really great workshop for that reason. So yeah, I've been checking the Q&A also. There's some interesting questions. Daniel, you've asked some great questions too, but I think that there's some more like general questions that are being asked in the chat. Needless to say that people are very excited right now. I mean, have been throughout the workshop, like, wow, this is mind blowing, this is really cool stuff. So kudos to you guys for pulling this off. And obviously really great technology at the core. So I think that's like my biggest takeaway here. So the first question is kind of more of a high level question. This might be more of a Daniel question. But the question is, why create a new NFT marketplace if I could use an existing one?
That's a great question. Well, it's part of the ownership economy, right? So now, as Greg showed us, you become the owner of the site, in a traditional way, in the same way that you can own a Web 2 website. But then there's all these middlemen between you and your money and your commerce. Now, what a unique NFT marketplace gives you is that step towards peer-to-peer trading, right? But you own the market. You become the owner of your own market. Now, this really is the transition from B2B or B2C to P2P, right? The final step. It's where you take the final step into consumerism or to creative economies, right? It's not just consumerism, right? That's like old terminology now. But what we have with NFTs is the creative economy, and then operations that are, as Greg described, is trust minimized. We create this environment where you are the owner of the marketplace, and you're really, it's a fundamental step towards self-sovereign management of your own destiny, right? So it's like owning a business.
Yeah.
Well, just got a whole bunch simpler, right? So instead of having to go through all of the bureaucracy of setting up an LLC and creating all of these, going through wherever jurisdiction you live in the world, there's lots of bureaucracy, there's lots of steps that you have to take, and it's all legacy infrastructure, right? It's all legacy stuff that you have to engage with. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't be paying your taxes when you convert this stuff back into, fiat to pay your rent and buy your food, but ultimately, what blockchains and what we try to do here at Unique is just abstract away all the complexity, right? So this creates this environment where collectors, creators, and creatives can come and own their own marketplace. So you become the owner of an asset that earns while you sleep, right? And that's wealth, right? And there's no reason why we can't all be wealthy, right? If you're creating a world of creative abundance and you're creating value within an NFT marketplace, then that's where we live in a world. We can live in a world of great abundance, decentralized, away from these third parties that create all of these barriers, this infrastructure, this bureaucracy, that is rent seeking essentially. And then we take all of that away and create a peer-to-peer marketplace. It's a much smoother and it's a much simpler solution for society and for the world in general. Yeah,
very, very well answered. Thank you for that answer, by the way, because I hope that it inspires people that are building with these tools, right? Because we're not just building tools and just applying the same sort of logic that we would if we were building Web 2 applications. We're building Web 3 applications here, and I think my short answer to that question would be, you are your own marketplace, right? It is important that you think about these paradigms and sort of right, like, and let's see how that influences the way you develop new applications. Thank you for that. So another question, I think that this might be more of a Greg question, and it's like straight up, it's asking, will there be any plans to bridge between other blockchains? So I guess the idea being, can I have an NFT on Unique Network that then can live anywhere else and be sort of interoperable within the ecosystem of substrate-based chains?
Absolutely, yes. We see this as well. If you try to answer short, we see this as multiple bridges and multiple small bridges. And exactly. Right now, I'm working on some roadmap for the bridge for the interoperability. Because the interoperability can be fully decentralized or maybe partially decentralized, but as long as it's interoperability, as long as we bridge assets between networks, it increases decentralization in general. So yes.
So by design, these NFT assets can equally be held on a Kusama blockchain or any substrate-based blockchain.
Yeah, exactly. So it's we already there is already a lot of work being done in the ecosystem about the bridging value between the networks. NFT is just one type of value that can be also bridged and teleported between networks.
Cool. Yeah, cool. I'm just looking at some more questions here. And by the way, that answer for me, that speaks to the fact that like what's really cool, for lack of a better word, with building with Substrate is that by design we have these things out of the box. We can sort of very much kind of leverage the modularity that's provided, right? You know, add features, add
Exactly.
new customizations to your blockchain. So I think that's kind of like what we're tapping into by answering that question. Okay, so another very I guess sort of consumer ending question. Is there going to be, or what would the supporting of these NFT assets look like with platforms like Ledger and Trezor, or these crypto wallets? Is that something that's in your roadmap? Is it something that you are going to implement?
Yeah, we've been talking with some wallets. Well, unfortunately, with with the Ledger, it's up to Ledger to support Substrate transactions. But as soon as they are ready, we will be more than happy to support it.
Cool. Yeah. It's usually like that, right? Very last question to wrap things up. These NFTs, can we be using them with different currencies, right? So we had Basilix, for example, present their talk on existential deposits, and really Basilix is this multi-asset ecosystem. Could, for example, we be using NFTs and powering them with multiple different currencies?
Yeah, it's it's an interesting concept of pairing the NFTs with some other assets. We are going to start working soon after we deploy the mainnet. We're going to start working on the bundling and nesting palette, where we're going to create structures of NFTs and perhaps NFT and some other fungible value as well. So yeah, we could possibly create bundles between NFTs and Kusama, for example.
Super interesting. Well, guys, this is very informative, very educational. I think this was also like the perfect workshop to kind of end the series that we've had today on this stage. It is a beginner workshop, but again, beginner, all it means is, you're somebody who's wanting to learn more about these technologies and how to use them. And what you guys presented today was perfect for that, right? Like, people are able to see that it really isn't that sort of intense in terms of like what you need to learn, the background installations that you need to have to launch your own marketplace and NFT marketplace using Unique Network.